Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Big Growth Podcast. Today I have with me Brad. He is the number one fitness mindset coach in the world. Welcome, Brad.
It's good to be here. Thanks for the intro.
Can we begin by hearing a quick introduction about yourself, who you are and what you do?
Yeah, I claim myself to be as an advanced body transformation coach. It's just a fancy way of saying I'm a health coach, health and performance coach for executives, high performers, celebrities, entertainers, or really anyone that wants to change and get better. So I've been in this industry for over 2 decades now, and this has just been a absolute passion of mine for my entire life.
Amazing. And what originally inspired you to get into the online space?
The online space, I saw this coming about 6, 7 years ago when I was fortunate to work with the Imagine Dragons, and I was touring all over the world, and I saw just in so many different cultures that everyone was dealing with something, whether it was mentally, physically, health-wise. And because of my success with Dan, I was having people reach out to me all over the world. And so I was like, I need to go online to do this. So that was what started it. And then obviously because of COVID, that kind of amplified everything. But it was because of that, just people reaching out, needing help.
So you mentioned that you were the personal trainer for Imagine Dragons. How did you get into that position?
So I moved to Vegas about 10 years ago. Originally grew up in Philly. And when I got to Vegas, I started working at a facility. I was the assistant fitness director at Lifetime Athletics here in Vegas. And Dan was working out there. He was, a member there. And he saw me, and whether it was because of how I looked, whether it was because of what I was doing, he wanted to work with me. So I didn't know who he was at the time. I thought he was any other member. And after a couple sessions, we're connecting back and forth and, doing small talk with him, asking him what he does for a living. And he being very modest in who he is, just saying he's in a band. Next thing I know, I find out he is who he is. And the relationship just took off from there. So I remember his goals were just, I wanted to get stronger and learn how to dunk a basketball. That was his goals. And so to me, that was a lot of fun because it was working on performance athletics. And I then find out that he has 2 autoimmune diseases, ankylosing spondylitis and ulcerative colitis. And that really had me connect with him even more because I'm a type 1 diabetic. So I used a lot of what I learned to help manage my autoimmune disease and brought that to him, which really helped him out. And so that's what inspired him to take me on tour with him, to help manage his health and fitness while he was going all over the world. That's how I got wrapped up into all that.
That's a very insightful story, and interesting that the fact that one problem that you had allowed you to connect so good with an opportunity. Life's kept crazy sometimes. So I want to ask you on the other side, right? Like when you started doing the online thing, doing the online coaching, I'm sure that at oftentimes it feels like an uphill battle. And I want to ask if looking back, is there anything that felt like the hardest way to possibly do it, but maybe taught you a lesson that you still carry today?
But yeah, honestly, it's always an uphill battle. Whenever it's interesting for coaches that I would say when you look at a lot of online leaders or online industries now, I mean, let's be real, the big thing right now is AI. It's a gold mine coming through. And you have so many younger individuals hopping into the online space, which I think is great. That's phenomenal. For a coach, I would say a lot of coaches and trainers don't think of themselves as entrepreneurs and business leaders. We just think of ourselves as coaches, personal trainers, even if we're in the online space. And so coming into this, I don't think I was ready to fully take on to what running a successful online entity meant. I knew nothing about marketing. I was good at sales. I would say most trainers are naturally good at sales though, because we're very good at connecting with people. Like that's what sales is connecting someone to their vision. And so I was good at that, but I knew nothing about, running a business. And so I failed thousands of times and probably had to restart what I was doing hundreds of times. But what I learned with that was all about discipline and resilience. You hear that all over the internet these days on how important that is, but you need that so much in running a business because you are going to fail 1,000 times just to get one success. And that one success literally changed the trajectory of my course. So that was the biggest lesson for me was learning how to keep pushing and keep trying even when everything told me not to.
Yeah, that's something I have a thought about as well. Actually, yesterday I was discussing with somebody that the number one most common reason I see in people, including myself, that run some kind of online business, whether it's coaching or they do like maybe like e-commerce or something crypto related, whatever. The biggest problem is doubt,
Yeah.
because start doing step one, step two, step three, step four, and by step five, nothing works according to the plan in the
Yep.
beginning, and
Yep.
then you start wondering, did I do step one wrong, or maybe did I do step two wrong? Should I keep going or should I try something else? And a lot of people, what they do, and myself including in the beginning, it's a very common mistake, is they assume they made a mistake at step one. And usually step one is choosing your product or service or what you're trying to do. So maybe you want to be a fitness coach, an online fitness coach, and it doesn't work out how you expected it to. And then you think, this doesn't work. I need to do something else. And then you start again from zero.
Yep. You're right. You're absolutely right. I think people very much underestimate the amount of volume that you need. I even think about now in my daily metrics, I am reaching out to about 50 to 100 people a day. And so you do that over a week, I'm and getting anywhere from 300 to 700, in my Instagram. So it is a warm reach out to followers, but still, you maybe get 1% return on that. So it's like, until I finally grasped that, it was so much doubt. And still, even to this day, I get doubt when I'm looking to scale and like pumping more money into marketing. You don't see that come back sometimes for months, So there's doubt creeps in every single day. Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's also a game of building momentum. And in the
Hmm.
beginning, momentum builds slow.
Yep.
So it's one thing to take into consideration for anyone who's looking to get started in this space. Whether it's
Right.
coaching or something else, you need to be patient and you need to be able to keep pushing when it doesn't feel right to do so.
Yep. That's a skill. That is definitely a skill to learn.
Okay. So something else that I believe to be very important when it comes to coaching and online business in general is identifying really well who do you want to serve? Like who's your niche? So I want to ask you, who do you find out to be the most drawn to what you do?
Yeah, that's it's funny because I battle with that to this day because I truly want to try and reach everyone, but I'm sure as you know this, when you try to do that, your return is not as much because you're trying to get the entire world. That's impractical, at least for what I'm seeing. So what I'm really trying to focus on now is high performing individuals. But what I mean by that is anyone in the business or corporate space or performance space that is struggling with stress, energy management, trying to, look and feel the part at the same time. So if I could really put a title around that, it would be, high performing executives that is learning how to battle and manage stress and energy day in and day out.
Okay. So if you had only 30 seconds on the stage in front of 10,000 people that look exactly like this, they are high performers, very stressed, and they struggle to maintain their body weight and their fitness. What's the one message you would want them to walk away with?
Sleep.
Wow, I was
Do
not
not,
expecting that.
yeah, do not sacrifice sleep. Yes, eating is important, exercising is important, but you cannot push to the highest level without sleeping. Lack of sleep kills you. Lack of sleep causes higher anxiety, higher depression, a massive decrease in performance. So, in these last 5 seconds, it's get your sleep and optimize your sleep.
That's very interesting because it's actually one of the biggest problems I'm currently facing. So I want to ask you something for my own benefit now.
Yeah.
And I believe that quite a lot of people in this space will find themselves in the same position. Oftentimes, even if I plan to maybe go to sleep earlier so I can get a full 8 hours long good night's sleep, right? I go to bed, but then my brain is still on, and all these ideas and just thinking about work keeps me awake for
Hmm.
hours. And I end up maybe sleeping like 4, 5, 6 hours, something like that. What would you recommend in this situation?
Yeah. So this is what I work on a lot with my clients. This is, I would say, every single client is experiencing the same thing. What we first want to realize is taking ownership that you're not taking sleep as seriously as you should.
Okay.
The reason why I say that is because if you took it as seriously as running your business, that shifts things. And so when I see a lot of people coming in, sleep is an afterthought. Even though you're saying, I get sleep is important, but if we look at the actions, there is no plan to get to sleep. I could imagine right now, it's just, okay, I want to try and get to sleep early. If you go to a business owner and say, we're going to just try and grow this business and that's it, how successful do you think we're going to be? Very little, because there's no sales plan, there's no marketing plan, there's no operations plan, there's no systems or processes in place to grow the business. So we have to take sleep just as serious as growing a business. So once we consistently work on that shift, then we start implementing a proper system and process to get to bed fast, and improve the quality of sleep. So I say that first because I could give you any plan, but if there's no emotional attachment to sleeping, is it really going to improve? No, it's not. It's going to stay in our brain is like, yeah, I would love to improve sleep, but there's no significant change in it because ourselves, we don't look at ourselves as professional sleepers. We don't. And that's what we need to do if we want to cause change. So that would be step one. From there, it's about implementing a proper bedtime routine and taking it extremely seriously. So what time do you try to wake up every day? What's like a consistent wake up time for you?
For me personally, it's 9.
9 a.m. Okay. So, and you said currently you're getting anywhere from 4 to 6 hours of sleep.
No, it's usually more. It's I mean, it's like 6 hours on average, maybe.
Okay, six, perfect. Still not enough. Okay, so
Yeah.
if we backtrack 8 hours, because what I've seen is men can get away with 7 to 8 just because of how our brain is operating. Women tend to need 8 to 9 because, not bashing women, it's just their brain is operating at a higher frequency than men. We are very good at focusing on one thing and that's it. But with women, literally their brain activity is higher. So for them, if I get a high performing woman coming in, I'm like, we need 9. With men, it's like we can get 7 to 8. So, but just for purposes of this, it's 8 hours. So that means if you're waking up at 9, that means you need to be asleep out cold between the hours of 12 and 1 in the morning. We'll talk about that in a second on why that late could still be a barrier for you. But just for the conversation right now, out cold between 12 and 1. So that means by about 11 p.m., you need to start your bedtime routine to shut you down and shut you down fast. So first thing we would do is any type of blue light, any type of screen time needs to be off and gone. Why is that? Well, when the sun starts to go down, our melatonin production increases. Melatonin is what shuts us down and also keeps us in our circadian rhythm. Circadian rhythm is just our 24-hour rhythm. If that process gets thrown off, it can really F up our entire next day or so. So that's why it's so important to stop the blue light. So now you can get a workaround with this if you implement red light. You have red light, which some people do. And I've seen people that I work with implement because they're trying to work literally every minute of the day. So it's like, let's have a compromise here. Let's get some red light coming in instead of blue light, but no screens an hour beforehand. And then I really like to use sleep time supplementation. That could be magnesium, that can be glycine, taurine, could be apigenin, L-theanine, could be a whole slew of different combination of things that would be necessary and effective for you. We take that 60 minutes before bedtime. Now, when we look at getting to sleep, there's a couple pillars that are involved. The first one, a big one, is like what you said, the mind is racing. So let's call that either anxiety or stress. It's not a bad thing. It's just that's what we can label it as. So we need to calm that down, impact that. We need to impact core temperature, which plays a massive role in shutting down and going to sleep. And then we can also look at the physical body. So if the body is tense and tight, that's going to be a bit harder to go to sleep. So after we shut down the blue light, after we take the supplementation, from here, now we are working to get to bed. And this is where core temperature can really come into play. So maybe we take a really hot bath. Maybe we take a really hot shower. If we have access to a sauna, maybe we use the sauna at this time or an hour or 2 hours beforehand, which can be, not everyone has a sauna in their home. So I say if you at least get it in the end half of the day, that can help. So you're doing that as hot as you can handle, which causes vasodilation. All that means is your blood cells open up to release the heat. So when you come out of that hot temperature, all this hot temperature is coming out of your body, which then shuts down core temperature. Now we're brushing our teeth, this and that. We're getting into bed 30 minutes before we want to get to sleep. Our core temperature is dropping. We look at the environment. Is your room extremely cold, anywhere from 60 to 65 degrees? That is what research has shown to be effective for going to sleep. That's freaking cold. That is extremely cold, and not many people have it at that temperature. So we try to get it as low as we can. Are we shutting off all light sources? Is it like a cave in your room where it's completely black? Most people know. That light can disrupt the quality of sleep and trying to get to sleep. Is your bed like this zone of complete comfort that's like applying pressure to the body with heavy blankets, cold blankets? Again, a lot of different things that can create your room as like this oasis of sleep. Then when we're in bed, are we doom scrolling? Are we, that's a big thing for a lot of people, but at this point is where we really like to relax the mind. So maybe we listen to music. Maybe we do some stretching to relax the body before getting to bed. But in all honesty, one of the most effective things that can really help with the mind is journaling. So you said for specifically, you're thinking about all these things to run the business, things you got to focus on. Word vomit and get it out of your head. And what can really help is writing a to-do list to focus on the next day. Like, okay, I got to do this tomorrow, this tomorrow, this tomorrow, this tomorrow. I label it as like your top 5 things that change the course or improve the course of the business. I got to do this, 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 and this. Okay, now it's out of my head. Now I'm shifting the mind to produce some more serotonin, which is writing what you're grateful for. I call it vitamin G. So I'm grateful for X, Y, and Z. I've accomplished X, Y, and Z today. You close the book, get some, sleep mask. Maybe you put some little music on with like some brown noise, green noise. Now you've created a system and process to go to sleep. That's how you become a professional sleeper. You do that for a couple weeks, I guarantee you're going to notice a shift in your sleep quality.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot of insight about sleep. And I don't think I ever considered sleep the same way you do and the same way you presented here, like taking a professional approach to it. I like that term, professional sleeper. I really like it.
Yeah.
So this was basically the most important thing that you believe high performers should be aware about, right? So this is basically what they learn once they get involved with you. One of the things.
One of the things. Yep.
What about when somebody decides to get involved? What's usually happening in their life at that moment?
Yeah. That's a good question. They're noticing that their idea of wealth is not what they thought it to be. I see a lot of individuals, and I this crosses my head every once in a time, where when we think of wealth, I would say a lot of people first think of finances or a legacy in their business that they want to build. Very valid. Or even more so, an impact I want to make in the world. What I'm seeing high performers now start to realize is they can't achieve or experience that wealth without their health. And they've sacrificed their health to get to their version of their wealth. And they're realizing that their version of the wealth is not what they thought it to be. So they're coming in wanting to experience and live their legacy. But the only way they can do that is by now mastering their health. So they're experiencing that I have a lot of stress. I can't sleep. I have all this. The way I look is not how I want to look. We've gained this extra body fat. We have lack of muscle. So that's where I see a lot of them coming in. That's their starting point.
What's your version of wealth?
Being able to live life however I want it to the greatest degree possible. And I understand that's very vague. But for me, of course, there's a finance aspect to that. But I look at finances as a way to have fun, as a way to enjoy life. So really, for me, wealth is just being able to live and love to the greatest degree possible, whatever that looks like. And second part of that is being able to make a difference with people and really make an impact in the world.
Amazing. So, you know what I'm also curious about, especially when it comes to health and fitness. The biggest challenge for people oftentimes is sticking to it for long enough. Do you have some advice for that?
Yeah, get financially involved into it. I mean, as cliche or corny as that can sound, but if you're investing a good chunk of money to have someone, whether it's me or any other coach, to hold you accountable to live and be healthy, it changes the perspective. So that would be number one. But number two, I have every client of mine create their future self and really become purpose and goal driven. It's just like anything. It's like, why do you want to grow a business? Because of X, Y, and Z. It's like, well, why do you want that? Well, because of X, Y, and Z. I feel like today, now more than ever, I feel like a lot of people can articulate what they want. And when an entrepreneur comes in, why they're growing their business. I would say most people can't do that on what they want that for their personal and health life.
Okay.
But if we get emotionally attached to a health and fitness goal, maybe it is living your legacy with your family. Maybe it is because you want to feel more confident. Maybe because it is you want to, have more energy to interact with clients. It could be anything. But if we can't articulate and visualize that, AKA describe and create your future self 5 years, 10 years down the road, then we don't know what we're fighting for. And when circumstances come up, it's a hell of a lot easier to give in when you're by yourself and you don't know what you're fighting for. But when you have someone in your corner reminding you of why you're doing this, and so you know what you're fighting for, it's easier to push through the BS. It's easier to push through when times get tough. And so that's, if anyone is having a hard time at sticking with it, I would start there.
Amazing insights. And I really like the advice of getting financially involved because there's a saying in business that scared money don't make money. Means
Exactly.
don't be afraid to put your money inside the business, whether it's to um, improve your knowledge, get more educated, or another kind of investment. It's always good to not be scared to invest money to improve your life. And I think the same thing applies for health and fitness as well.
Absolutely. And I would even argue that it is an ROI into your business because,
Absolutely.
yeah, if you're like, I travel a lot, I pull 12-hour days a lot. And the reason I can is because I know my body can punch it back in the face. I know I can handle insane amounts of stress through insane travel times, this and that, because I've trained my body to deal with that. Exercise And doing things that you don't like to do physiologically is the same as stress that you're going to handle from your business. And you're going to condition your body through certain brain chemistry aspects, through physiological aspects to push harder in business. And let's be real, that's a secret edge that every business leader would want.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I dropped around like 14 kilograms this year, and my
Yep.
energy levels are very much different. And even regarding the sleep, right? I didn't fix my sleep schedule, but I still have more energy
Yep.
compared to before.
Absolutely.
Right. So I do have one final question for you. That's a bit more out there,
Yeah.
and it goes like this: if you could wave a magic wand and make one thing easier when it comes to the fitness coaching business, what would it be?
It's a good question. Thing I would say a way to qualify yourself. Actually, this is the opposite. I'm going to preface this with this. When coaches come in and work with individuals, they could be doing some amazing work and they can also hurt you quite a bit. And I wish that our system to become a coach was harder. And I wish it was easier for people to vet coaches, because you could go and study for a month to get your personal training certificate. I've studied this for 25 plus years, have my degree in exercise science and a whole slew of certifications. But if you were to market yourself better and connect with people better, you would win every time. You'd get more clients every time. So I wish there was a way to make it easier for people to vet and find coaches rather than going through social media. Little bit of a weird answer to what you're asking, but that's the best thing I could think of.
It's actually a very good answer. I do have something to complete it. And the internet is a great thing because you have all this information and all this possibility and opportunity at
Yes.
your fingertips, right? But there's also a downside to it. And when there's so much information out there, there's
Yeah.
also a lot of bad information and a lot
Yeah.
of maybe not necessarily bad people, but people who are not good enough at what they do so they can help you. So yeah, we got to be careful navigating through that. On that note, I want to tell you guys, um, Brad's website will be in the description of this video, and I know the people who are going to be watching this are high performers who are very stressed and should probably take their health, fitness, and sleep more professionally. And if you don't want to go through the whole process of trying to figure out how to vet your fitness coach, I really recommend going with Brad. Just think about the sleep part. I bet you haven't heard that anywhere else. And on that note, I want to thank you, Brad, for taking the time to join me today,
Thanks
and
for
see you next time.